Um, so just when you look into the root of the word, you can understand. For example, zulum. Zulum is actually, it is the root of two independent things, isn't it? One is zulum, dha, lam, mim is darkness, isn't it? And also zulum is oppression. You understand? So it means from that, it means that zulum, which used for oppression, it is not the initial word. So initial, it could be baghi actually. Okay, so anyway, this subject is known as fiqh al-lugha. Okay, so fiqh al-lugha, unfortunately in our time it is dead knowledge. Yeah, so it is something to consider. But then technically in fiqh, technically we use the word of baghi, bagha yabghi, for treason against the governor, against the official governor. Okay, so baghi linguistically means oppressor, but baghi in the fiqh technical term, it means rebellion, the person who rebels, okay, against the official government. Okay, so very briefly in two words, rebelling against the governor is not permissible, regardless if the oppressor will be uh, righteous or unrighteous. Okay, so that is agreed upon between all of the schools of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay, yeah, and also there is another thing in terms of the meaning of rebelling does not mean, for example, speaking out, okay, or trying to correct, but rebelling is specifically applicable when group of people, he's going to explain, with the weapons, who can defend themselves, you can say, from the military point of view. Those people, if they will get up against the government, that is called as rebellion. Okay, but what about if we have this group of people, they are intellectuals, it is party. Okay, so for example, tomorrow we'll have this party called First Aid Party. Their mission is write articles, okay, or trying to elaborate on some certain, you can say, issues which is happening in the country, which is not acceptable. You understand? Thief, for example, is so we do not call them rebellions, okay? And it could be actually welcomed to do that type of activities. Okay, so as you know, in Islam, we do have this compulsion called al-amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, stopping the evil, okay, and spreading the good. Okay, so it could be even compulsory to set up this. Okay, but what will not be acceptable? Creating mess will not be acceptable. Okay, so for example, look, we have this EDF or whatever EDL, because few of the non-white people, brown or black people, are doing some certain, I don't know, drug dealing and etc. So they are promoting hatred against that. No, that's not acceptable. Okay, can that be classed as rebellion? We say no, but that could be classed as fasad, okay, corruption, okay, or mess. Okay, so that is very brief background of the issue. Bab al-Bughat. So it is the chapter about the Baghis. Bughat is plural of al-Baghi. Okay, Baghi. وإذا تغلب قوم من المسلمين على بلد وخرجوا عن طاعة الإمام دعاهم إلى العودة إلى الجماعة وكشف عن شبهتهم ولا يبدأهم بالقتال حتى يبدأوا فإن بدأوا قاتلهم حتى يفرق جمعهم إلى آخره رحمه الله. Okay, so Imam Al-Quduri radiallahu anhu says, إذا تغلب قوم, if group of Muslims, if they will conquer some city in the Muslim country, وخرجوا عن طاعة الإمام, and they disobey the leader. Keep in your mind, the leader, the title of the leader could be anything, could be king, president, prime minister, whatever. It does not have to be, for example, Taqiyuddin Nabhani, Hizb ut-Tahrir, Khalif. No, it's not necessary. Could be president. Understand? So even rebelling against the president is same exactly thing. دعاهم إلى العودة إلى الجماعة. So the leader, president, for example, will call them okay, to go back, okay, to join the citizens. وكشف عن شبهتهم, and he will try to he should try to dispose that issues that they're having. Okay, so for example, they are rebelling. Why? Because there is poverty in the country. Okay, so president will send someone, I don't know, someone from uh, Ministry of Economy, just to clarify what's happening. Okay. ولا يبدأهم بالقتال, and he should not, the leader should not start fighting against them حتى يبدأ, until they start fighting. فإن بدأوا قاتلهم حتى يفرقهم, but if they will start fighting, so then he will also fight, but not to finish them off, but um, uh, to you can say destroy this gathering. Okay, so as you know, there are two types of fighting. One is to finish them off. Okay, so he is going to explain. The leader will finish them off if there is bigger group, okay, or there is possibility that they're going to form another group. Okay, but if it is only the group, okay, so then the leader will not be finishing them off, but he will just destroy this gathering, and after that they will not come back again to form a group. Understand? فإن كان لهم فئة أجهز عليهم or أجهز على جريحهم واتبع موليهم. So if they have a group, bigger group, so do you know the people who are fighting now, okay, rebellions, if they have another group, so most likely the people, the soldiers who will run away from here, from the rebellion group, so they're going to join another group. So if that's the case, yeah, then the leader, okay, so he has to make sure that even the people who are running away, he shoots them, and also the you know, the injured people from them, he should finish them off also. وإن لم يكن لهم فئة لم يجهز على جريحهم ولم يتبع موليهم. Okay, but if they do not have the group to go and join, in that case, do you know, the injured among them, he will just leave them alone, and as well as the people who are running away from the battlefield, he will just leave them alone also, because they are going nowhere to form another group. ولا تصبى لهم ذرية ولا يغنم لهم مال. So their families, their children will not be taken as a hostage. Okay, they will not be enslaved, as well as their wealth will not be taken as a booty. ولا بأس أن يقاتلوا بسلاحهم إن احتاج المسلمون إليه. Yeah, so these texts actually could mean two things actually. If it is يقاتلوا, okay, but we do have this pronoun which is سلاحهم. So you can fight against them by their own weapons. So for example, you know, he did mention that you know, the matter of ghulul. Okay, so it's not going to be ghulul if you just pick up their weapon which falls from them or whatever, or the soldier who is killed from them, you just pick his weapon and just you fight against them. So you can do that. Okay. ويحبس الإمام أموالهم ولا يردها عليهم ولا يقسمها حتى يتوبوا فيردها. Okay, so but what about the wealth if it is not taken as a booty? So then what's going to happen? So he says it will be frozen by the leader, okay, and he will not release it back to them until they repent, until they come back and repent, okay, or else their wealth will be just frozen. وما جباه أهل البغي من البلاد التي غلبوا عليها من الخراج والعشر لم يأخذه الإمام ثانيا. Okay, so you know we have this. Let's suppose that these rebellions will conquer the city, but then they will announce themselves as the governors, as the official government. So the official government in that time, they used to take the kharaj and ushur and zakat, etc., from the citizens. Okay, so so if they have been governing that locality, so they were collecting the kharaj and zakat and everything else also. So what happens to that? So when the official government will come back to return that place, okay, return back that place. So will the official governor, will he take the kharaj and ushur and everything else? Okay, so we say no. Okay, um, he's going to explain now. So what if the as you know, for example, zakat and kharaj and everything, so all of them taxes, you can say, it has its own specific places where you have to spend, where you have to be spending. So what is going to happen if rebellions were collecting these taxes but they were not spending it where it's supposed to be? So do we ask the citizens to make another payment, another zakat and another kharaj? Okay, so no, it's already taken from them. Okay, but because it didn't go to its own right places, so the official governor will advise. Okay, so he will advise, not as a qadi, not as a judgment, but as fatwa. Advise the citizens to do the zakat and kharaj once more. Okay, just to, okay, obviously does not make sense. Anyway, so yeah, so that's what he's saying. وما جباه أهل البغي من البلاد التي غلبوا عليها من الخراج والعشر لم يأخذه الإمام ثانيا. So the rebellions so if rebellion government, if they have collected the zakat and everything else, the taxes also, so the official governor will not ask the citizens to make that payment again. فإن كانوا صرفوه في حقه أجزاءه من فأجزاءه من أخذ منه. So if the rebellions have been distributing it to the right places, to the right directions, so then that will be sufficient. وإن لم يكونوا صرفوه في حقه أفتى or أفتي أهله or أفتى أهله فيما بينهم وبين الله تعالى أن يعيدوا ذلك. But if it was not spent by the rebellions to the right directions, okay, for example, zakat should be given to one of 8 categories. Okay, according to Hanafis, one of 7 categories, because mu'allafatul qulub is no more valid. So the rebellions were taking the zakat, but not spending the zakat to these one of these 7 categories, but they were just taking for their own, you can say, pocket. So in that case, he will advise the citizens to make another zakat, okay, but as fatwa and not as a judgment. Okay, so you know we have this thing called qada'an wa diyanatan. Okay, so that is quite big. That's quite big in Islamic fiqh. Okay, so it is one of the fruits of this concept. So qada'an, it's not compulsory upon them, but diyanatan, it is still compulsory, which means you are sinful. Understand? So basically, it's like being under, you can say, under the constitution of 2 separate governments: government of God, okay, so it's still judged if you do not do, and government of the caliph or the amir or president. Okay, so he doesn't have a right to put you into the jail, but God will still send you to the hell. You understand that type of thing? So anyway, so that is yes.
Sorry, can I ask a question? How they view rebellion and then the revolutions of the Ahlul Bayt, for example?
Yes.
Because I think they mentioned like Abu Hanifa, he gave permission to people to join the revolution of Imam Zayd.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, each point should be taken separately. So even they mention, for example, Imam Hussein as a rebellion, okay, and then Imam Zayd. Obviously, these 2, it was not like rebellion, but there were many other attempts, okay, which of Ahlul Bayt, which I do consider as a rebellion, and I do consider that these imams were sinful for the bloodshed. It was not right. But okay, so but what about Imam Hussein and Imam Zayd? So as you know, do you know for the validity for the validity of the bay'ah, okay, so we do have some certain conditions. Okay, so for example, one of them, according to Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, especially, okay, Athari people. So in the same place, two khalifs, two leaders, is it valid? We say no. Okay, for example, so it means that in the UK, okay, so we have a president, prime minister, and we have another president and prime minister. Is that valid? We say no. Okay, so how was the bay'ah of Yazid taken? So Muawiyah just claimed the mimbar, and then he said, oh, people, I want all of you guys to make bay'ah to my son. Well, who are you then? Okay, so you are the Khalif, okay, and you are appointing another Khalif. So which one of you will be the Khalif? Understand? Not valid. So Muawiyah was wrong to appoint another Khalif while he was still alive. Okay, that's first thing. And the second thing is, as soon as Muawiyah died, as you know, the people, okay, from all of the Hijaz, okay, as well as Egypt, as well as Iraq, the majority of that, okay. But keep in your mind, Amr ibn al-As was in Egypt, so he was forcing the people away from Hussein, okay. But Hijaz, okay, and some parts of even Sham, okay, as well as Iraq and Iran, all of them, Khorasan, they made bay'ah to Hussein, means official Khalifa is Hussein, okay. Yazid did rebel against him, okay, and Yazid was victorious, okay, so he became the official governor because of that, and not by bay'ah. By bay'ah, it was Hussein. So that is about that. And what about Zayd? Okay, so in the time, if you just read the history of that specific time, okay, so basically the Bani Umayyah, okay, so became so weak that they were unable to look after the country, especially the Iraq. Bani Umayyah were in Sham, okay, so Iraq almost gone from their hand, okay, so you know, Qaramata, okay, Khawarij, Qaramata, all of these partisans, highway robbers, easily would go invade into Baghdad, into any other cities, and they would just rob and to the market, and they would just walk away, and no one would say, hey, what are you doing? You understand? Means there was no government. Understand? Okay. Yeah, so so that's why there was no any government in that. Okay, so they lost their power. Okay, so Yazid did not rebel, but Yazid occupied, okay, or he did govern the country where there was no any government, okay, but there was these puppets who did not have any power, okay, and one of the main conditions of governing, you have to give protection to the citizens, then you can govern them. But if you're not, so it's the same as I will now say, I'm the new president of the UK, and then with the weapon I will come to you and I will demand money from you. And you know, robbers, all of them are doing all sorts of things in the UK, and I'm not protecting them. Okay, but all I do is with the weapon, I charge the people to pay me a tax. So am I official and valid governor? We say no. Do you understand? So that was happening in Iraq. Do you understand? But anyway, so Yazid and Hussein with Yazid, okay, as well as Zayd, okay, Zayd Shahid. So it was not rebellion, okay, but definitely there were quite few rebellions, and I do believe that they're sinful. These Ahl al-Bayt are sinful for rebelling. Okay, so anyway, so that is our stance. Okay, and Imam Abu Hanifa did support for the formation of a government in Iraq where there was no any official government. Okay, so long ago, yes, they invaded, they did all sorts of bloodshed, because Iraq, as you know, they were pro Ahl al-Bayt, pro Ali. Okay, so that's why Muawiyah and all of the Shami governments, they used to hate that area. Okay, it's the same as, for example, let's say now, for example, for Indian government will invade into Pakistan, and they will do a lot of operation, raping, killing, burning the people, okay, and invade. It becomes part of India, okay, and after a couple of decades, Indian government, they don't really care about, you know, protecting, Pakistan, and then Iran will invade into Pakistan, Afghanistan, Emirates, all of them will be coming and doing all sorts of things, raping the women and doing all, understand? Okay, so now can we say that Pakistan belongs to India? No, no, no. It's just land, piece of land with no government. But yeah, there are Indian-speaking people who drive Mercedes who are appointed by Indian government, but there is no government in them. Do you understand? So that was the situation. That was the condition. But unfortunately, yeah, but unfortunately, Muslims, especially the Muslim scholars, contemporary, as well as the righteous predecessors, they never used to study, and they do not study even now. Okay, so that's why, for example, when these problems happened in Libya and Syria and other places, so the people who are leading the rebellion, it is you can say scholars who will be labeled as righteous predecessors after their death. Ignorant, stupid people, schizophrenic people, you know. Yeah, so if they would study Quduri as you guys are studying, they would not do these silly mistakes. Okay, Kitab al-Hadar wal-Ibaha. Okay, so what is that al-Hadar wal-Ibaha? So linguistically, as you know,
so Sheikh, we've been through Hadar wal-Ibaha. I just wanted to mention. I think we went through it in one of the sessions already before the lockdown.
Yeah, okay. Did we study all of that?
Yeah, the full chapter.
Okay, mashallah. So we were also doing these deceptive things, isn't it? Just skipping through, I mean, the chapters and just jumping into the next one. So it's good.
Was it one of those skipping ones, Arsalan?
No, full chapter has been done, beginning to end.
Okay, good. Okay, so as long as recording is there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next chapter is Wasi, isn't it? Or Fara'id.
Is that the one, Arsalan? No?
Yeah.
Wasaya. Yeah. Okay.
Wasaya, okay, let's go. Yeah, Wasaya. Okay. Okay, al-wasiyya. Okay, so what do we know about wasiyya? Wasiyya, linguistically, wasiyya is used for the strong order. Okay, so for example, instead of saying I have repeated my order, okay, I kept on repeating my order. Instead of saying that, you will say awsaytuhu. Okay, means I have ordered him. I have repeated. Okay, so I carried on repeating my order. So that is, for example, I will say to you, make sure that you will bring me a water. Okay, don't forget the water. So if I repeat it, okay, so later I will say, awsaytuhu bijalbil ma, means I have repeatedly asked him to bring water. So that is linguistically. Okay, so if you remember, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, do you remember the ayah? Okay, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ means they have repeatedly advised, okay, or ordered one another to make a sabr. So as you know, tawasaw, tafa'ul is tasharuk, isn't it? Like doing from two ends. So that is the linguistic meaning of wasiyah. But technically, okay, in the fiqh, wasiyah is used for a will. So before the death, person writes a will or makes a will. Okay, so wasiyah, our Ahl Sunnah scholars say that initially, in the beginning stage of Islam, wasiyah was compulsory. Okay, but then fara'id revealed, okay, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, in Surah Al-Imran, Surah Al-Nisa, etc. So by that has abrogated the compulsion of wasiyah, okay, which means that wasiyah is no more fard, okay, but fara'id is fard. So that's what he's saying. Al-wasiyah غير واجبة. So wasiyah is no more wajib, but here mustahabbatun. Okay, just to refresh your memory, mustahab, it is one of two types of sunnah mu'akkada and sunnah mustahabba, as you know. So and there is no sin in the sunnah, in opposing the sunnah, but sunnah, as you know, according to the usul fiqh, starts from the lowest level of order. And as you know, the lowest level of order is wajib. Okay, wajib, okay, fard amali and fard. So sin is only in them three. Whenever there is no order, there is no sin. Okay, so which means sunnah muakkad. For example, sunnah. What's the definition of sunnah muakkad? Sunnah muakkad is something that Rasulullah used to do all the time without missing. So that becomes sunnah muakkada. Okay, so what's the order? Not necessarily means they cannot be a sin. ولا تجوز الوصية لوارث إلا أن يجيزها الورثة. You cannot make a will, okay, for the person who is receiving inheritance. Okay, someone who is already receiving inheritance, unless the rest of the heirs will give him permission. Okay, so for example, a person dying, and he has no one except wife, okay, and one daughter and one son, and he wants to write a will for his wife. Will that be valid? We say no, unless his daughter and his son say, okay, fine, because technically anything above 1/3, okay, belongs to the heirs. Okay, so means when heirs will say, okay, we will let this wasiyah to go ahead, means they are actually paying from their pocket. Understand? So that's what's happening. ولا تجوز الوصية بما زاد على الثلث. Okay, so anything more than 1/3 of the inheritance, you cannot make a will for that. Okay, so means when you are dying, you possess only 1/3 of what belongs to you. Okay, so that's why make sure that before you die, you just use everything for your own, for your own benefit, because just before you die, when you become ill, okay, so you will have possession of 1/3. ولا تجوز الوصية بما زاد على الثلث ولا للقاتل. And also the wasiyah, let's suppose that you write your wasiyah for your friend, okay, and then later your friend will kill you, so that wasiyah will be not valid anymore because he's a killer.
Sheikh, how do we define someone as dying? Is it age or is it by health? So
actually, when we say making wasiyah is not permissible, so all of that will be applicable after the death. So let's suppose that you will die now. So right now you are still alive, and then you will say you will bring solicitor, and you will say, okay, so 10,000 pounds belongs to my son. So if money is taken right now, so it belongs to him. But if after writing this, it's not a will. Okay, but you are just managing your money. So after writing this, if you die, these 10,000 will not go to your son, because it was not a gift, but it became, by your death, it became will. Understand? Yeah, and also we do have some certain issues, okay, related to the pre-death condition. Okay, so how do we know that? So we know that as person being ill before death. Okay, and that is if it's not by age, okay, so then it is known by the medical condition. So doctors will say he's dying. He's young, yes, 20 years old, but he's dying now. Why? Because of his condition, coronavirus. Okay, so it's known either by age or either by medical condition. So because, for example, you as heir, so for example, the children of the person who is dying, they can make hajr on what their father who is dying is doing. So let's suppose that John Smith is ill now. He's 80 years old, and before he dies, he wants to give away all of his money to his friends and relatives, etc. So, but what about his children? So they have a right to make hajr, to block that, to invalidate. So then only John Smith will have an option of, you can say, managing 1/3 of what is remaining with him. And how do we know that he is dying? By one of two conditions: either by his age, so most likely he's dying, he's 80, okay, because he's ill also. And the second, he's young, 30 years, but doctors already diagnosed a death. for this person, cancer 4th stage. So even this person, so his inheritance will have a right to block him, to block his transactions from 1/3, except for 1/3. Understand? Okay. ويجوز أن يوصي المسلم للكافر والكافر للمسلم. Okay, so in terms of writing will for opposite religion, okay, so all of that is permissible. He's mentioning it because in some of the schools, if I'm not mistaken, in Hanbali, they do not give permission for this. They compare it, okay, to the inheritance, because as you know, the inheritance, the Muslim father cannot give inheritance to, for example, his Christian daughter, or other way around. Okay, so as you know, so but anyway, we do have Hanafi position in which we say, let's suppose that if it is a non-Muslim father or non-Muslim relative dying, okay, can Muslim relative receive the inheritance or not? So we Hanafi say yes. Okay, but there is this disagreement, okay, in which they say no, it's not permissible. Vast majority of Ahlul Sunnah, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, they say so inheriting, the inheritance between the members of two different religions is not valid, is void. Okay, and also Abu Yusuf and Muhammad, they say if it is Muslim father and non-Muslim son, for example, it's void, not permissible. Okay, so because of that, he's saying wasiyah is not similar to the fara'id, to the inheritance. So in the wasiyah, it's still valid to make the will for the members of other religion, or even the atheists also. وقبول الوصية بعد الموت فإن قبلها الموصى له في حال الحياة أو ردها فذلك باطل. Okay, so in terms of accepting or rejecting the wasiyah, so that will be only valid after the death. For example, your father-in-law, okay, will write a will for you, okay, $1 million in front of a lot of people, and you are Atlantica Masala, you pretend to be Sufi G, you know, you don't really care about money because you eat an oxygen and you drink water. That is Sufi, you are angel, you know. Sunlight is sufficient for you, you know. So in front of people, no, I'm not taking, I'm Sufi G, I'm Abdul Qadir Jila, I go for the khulwa, you know. So you will make all of them things, okay, but make sure that you do all of them tinky-winky things while your father-in-law is still alive. As soon as he dies, say, I'm accepting. Job is done. You have got both of the things. People think that you're Sufi G because you rejected the £1 million, but also your pocket, you do have all of them, money in your pocket. Good. Okay. So that was he's saying. وقبول الوصية بعد الموت. So accepting or refusing, rejecting the wasiyah, the will, is after the death. فإن قبلها الموصى له في حال الحياة أو ردها فذلك باطل. So accepting or rejecting the will, you know, the person for whom it was done. So if he accepts or rejects while the person is still alive, so that is just nothing. ويستحب أن يوصي الإنسان بدون الثلث. And it is actually recommended, okay, to make a will for less than 1/3, even though it was permissible for you to make a will up to 1/3, okay, but because he's saying just to think about the inheritance, okay, but it is only if the person is financially average. But if he's very wealthy, okay, so 2/3 are going to be billions, okay, so then it is actually highly recommended to make sure that you are making will for all thirds, because it's a lot. So even if you make the will of all 1/3, your children are going to get a lot of money even after that. Understand? So that's the area. وإذا أوصى yes وإذا أوصى إلى رجل فقبل الوصي في وجه الموصى فردها في غير وجهه فليس برد وإن ردها في وجهه فهو رد. Okay, so he says let's suppose that the person will make a will give a will to you. Okay, in front of him, you are saying, I do accept, but when he's absent, you are saying, no, I do not accept. Okay, so that is not accepted. But for it to be valid, you have to refuse just in front of him, saying, don't write a will, I'm not going to accept it. But what you say behind his back. So Arsantika Masala Saab, you have got another beautiful fatwa from Hanafis. In front of your father-in-law, say, I'm accepting. But then when you go to Mimbar, say, my father-in-law made a will 1 million. I said no to him. He says, it's good. It's again Sufiji. Okay, so 2-0, winning. So he says, Musa bihi يملك بالقبول إلا في مسألة وهي أن يموت الموصي ثم يموت الموصى له قبل القبول فيدخل الموصى به في ملك ورثته. Okay, so it's the same as, so wasi is a gift actually. Okay, so if you remember, for the validity of the gift, okay, so we do have 3 things, isn't it? One is offer, and the second is accept, and third is qabd. Okay, so after that, it comes into your possession. Okay, so what about the wasi? So wasi is also a gift. So for the validity of the wasiya, we need these 2 things: offer and accept. Okay, so person is making a will, that is offer. Okay, for you, for example, and then you should say, okay, I'm accepting. Okay, or you just grab it without saying.
You know, in the previous point,
yes,
he talked about the he rejects the wasiya whilst the musi is alive.
Yes.
Is that valid or not?
No. So if you remember, he did mention he did mention it in front of the person who's making the offer, making the will, because when that person dies, he's absent, isn't it? So
Right.
in the absence of the musi, okay, do we accept what Musalahu says or not? So we said no. Okay, so in his death, then doesn't mean that in his death, after his death, we do not accept. So we say no, after his death, we do accept. Okay, so that, okay, so just to summarize, let's suppose that I'm making will, okay, for you. Okay, so you should accept it. Okay, so if you accept it in my absence, I'm somewhere else, and you say I'm accepting it, but somewhere else, is that valid or not? Or you reject? We say no, that's not valid. Okay, but it should be in front of me. But what about if I die? I'm absent, so means doesn't mean that it is nullified. Okay, so he says no, you can still do that. Okay, but if I'm still there, okay, so if you want to reject, so you have to do it in front of my face. And so that's what he's saying. So let's suppose I will make a will for you, and now you are in Oldham. You will say I'm rejecting it. Okay, so that is void. That is nothing. That's what he's saying. Okay, so except in one mas'ala, wasiya will be still valid even without accepting. It is when John Smith makes will to, for example, this person, and John Smith dies. So offer is done. This person, before accepting it, he also dies. Okay, so it doesn't mean that wasiya is nullified. No. This is the mas'ala of darura. Okay, so we say the wasiya is still valid, and it will go back to the inheritance of the second person. Look, والموصى به يملك بالقبول إلا في مسألة. الموصى به, so we do have 3 things. First is al-musi, the person who is making the will, and the second is al-musa lahu, the person for whom this will was made. And al-musa bihi, it is that commodity which is included into the wasiyah. So al-musa bihi, so that commodity which is included into the wasiyah, it is possessed, yumlaku bil qabuli. So it is possessed with the condition of accepting. because it's transaction. Okay, offer and accept. So accept should be there. إلا he must accept in one situation وهي, and that is أن يموت الموصي. So the person who is making the will, he dies. ثم يموت الموصى له. And then the person for whom this will was made, he also dies قبل القبول, but before accepting the will. فيدخل الموصى به في ملك ورثته. So then this commodity, which was made into the will, so it will go into the inheritance, okay, of his relatives, into the position of the inheritance. ومن أوصى إلى عبد أو كافر أو فاسق أخرجهم القاضي من الوصية ونصب غيرهم. Okay, so this is actually a political mas'ala, the second. So let's suppose that I will write a will, okay, for your slave. Okay, so as we know, slave, okay, in the Sunni jurisprudence, the slave does not have a position. Okay, so what's going to happen? So the qadi, the judge, okay, or the governor of that place will exclude them, saying no, they're not receiving. Okay, or kafir, or the same thing about disbeliever. If you remember, the wasiyah, the will was valid for the disbeliever. So then why qadi will exclude them? Okay, so they have this this thing called they apply normally. Okay, they apply this made-up istihsan, even though istihsan is not applicable in this very situation. So they apply istihsan, saying because the non-Muslims, okay, so by giving them this will, we're strengthening them. Okay, so they say it is one point, and strengthening the non-Muslims, okay, it is against the wisdom. Okay, so that's one point. The second point, they say the non-Muslims, okay, they should be given time, okay, to contemplate, to find the truth. Okay, so but if you will be feeding them with the money, it causes heedlessness, because they will be busy spending the money or making business. It is the time when they're supposed to be spending to look for the truth. So they do apply these type of analogies. I would call them political analogies, political reasoning, and say it is actually istihsan. Istihsan is implemented in the political field under very strict condition. Okay, so which you guys will learn in the usul fiqh, which is not applicable in here. It's actually, it could be other way around. So for example, for the disbeliever, for the atheist, it's correct. We agree that it's his duty to be looking for the truth. It's exactly the same as the contemporary Muslims, equal. Okay, so if they will be busy with day-to-day life, which means that they will be working, so they will not have time for looking for the truth. Understand? So means if governor will give them some salary just to give them that peace of mind so that they can research, so that is the correct istihsan, but not other way around. Okay, but anyway, the politicians, Muslim politicians, especially the Abbasis, they have abused the istihsan. So anyway, this is one of those. Aw fasiq. Okay, so does mean that if I would be the king, so no, it's not that. So I would actually give the salary, okay, for the genuine people who I know that they're going to, when they're free, they will be focused on glorious, noble things. Okay, so which means it's not only non-Muslims, but a lot of Muslims would not receive salary for free. But I would force them to do hard work just to keep them busy, because as soon as they get free, they will start doing a lot of wrong things. Understand? So that is the istihsan. Or fasiq, or disobedient. Okay, disobedient. So then, yeah, it's understandable. This with disobedient is understandable, because disobedient, whenever he will have money, he will be going and spending. So keeping the disobedient busy, it is important. So if will is written for them, أخرجهم القاضي من الوصية. Okay. So qadi has a right, qadi is in position of removing them, and he appoints someone else for this. It's political. ومن أوصى ومن أوصى إلى عبد نفسه وفي الورثة كبار لم تصح الورثة. Okay. ومن أوصى إلى عبد نفسه وفي الورثة كبار لهم لم تصح الوصية. I did not really understand this issue. So anyway, so let's suppose that I have slaves. Okay. So and then I make a will for the slave. Okay. So for one of my slaves, but then there are senior slaves, okay, who have been serving me. Okay, so he says لا تصح الوصية. So in that scenario, this wasiya is not valid. So this will is not valid. I didn't quite understand the issue. ومن أوصى إلى من يعجز عن القيام بالوصية ضم إليه القاضي غيره. Okay. So let's suppose that what is the inner copy? ومن أوصى إلى عبد نفسه وفي الوكيل. Okay. ومن أوصى إلى من يعجز عن القيام بالوصية ضم إليه. You know, obviously, where is my book? Okay, so if I will make a will, if I will make a will, and the will is really big, so in that scenario, I have to appoint someone like mutawalli to look after the wasiyah. So, for example, some solicitor, okay, to look after the wasiyah. Okay, so in that scenario, judge will appoint another person, okay, to look another solicitor to look after the it's like a let's suppose that I'm making will, okay, and not only cash, but also I do have farms and other things for this organization, okay, but then the solicitor, it's his responsibility to go and to measure and to look after that farm and other things, because the wasiyah has to be accurate. So I said from 1/3. Okay, so looking after that, we need some expert. And then my solicitor, his expertise was accountancy, so he can do the cash. But what about the farms? No. In that scenario, judge will appoint another person to look after the to complete this transaction, the wasiyah transaction. Anyway, I did not understand the first masala. ومن أوصى إلى عبد نفسه وفي الورثة كبار لم تصح الوصية. وفي الورثة.
It says in the translation, it says like whoever bequeaths to his own slave while there are elders amongst the heirs, it's invalid.
No, I understand the meaning, but each mas'ala has got its own reasoning. So it did not make sense to me. I didn't understand the reasoning. Okay. ومن أوصى إلى اثنين لم يجوز لأحدهما أن يتصرف عند أبي حنيفة ومحمد دون صاحبه إلا في شراء كفن الميت وتجهيزه وطعام الصغار وكسوتهم ورد وديعة بعينها وقضاء دين وتنفيذ وصية بعينها وعتق عبد بعينه والخصومة في حقوق الميت. However, so let's suppose that I make a will, okay, and I appoint two mutawallis, two solicitors, okay. So this will can be this will should be carried by both of them. So only one of them cannot carry this will, okay, but both should carry it, except in the cases of necessity. Okay, so what are the cases of necessity? So he says, shira' kafan al-mayyit, buying the kafan, wa tajhiz. So do you know the burial, okay, wa ta'am al-sighar, and feeding, do you know the feeding the children of the mayyit who made the will, okay, wa kiswatuhum, and their clothes, all of them are necessary mas'alas. And also, more than that, ورد وديعة بعينها, and returning back some specific wadi'a. Okay, for example, it is specific mobile phone. So for that, to fulfill that, we don't need both of them to be there, but only one of them will do. وقضاء دين, and paying back the debt also. وتنفيذ وصية بعينها, and fulfilling the specific wasiyah. Okay, for example, the musi will say, okay, I want to be buried, okay, in that graveyard. Okay, so that is specific wasiyah. It can be fulfilled by one. وعتق عبد بعينها, and also freeing the specific slave. والخصومة في حقوق الميت, and also advocating the issues related, the cases, the court cases related to the dead person. Okay, the one who made the will. It's quite rational, isn't it? ومن أوصى لرجل, just one second. Okay, so we'll have this. Quite a lot, actually. If we can just finish it off till Fara'id today, that would be great, because then we could finish off the rest next. Okay, so it is. That's quite a lot, actually. I will see if we cannot finish it in 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours or whatever. The most important thing for me now is just to finish off the wasiyah, so we'll have one more week, inshallah. Okay. ومن أوصى لرجل بثلث ماله ولآخر بثلث ماله فلم تجز الورثة فالثلث بينهما نصفان. Okay, so it's also quite rational. So as he said in the beginning, the will to be fulfilled from 1/3 of what of everything. Okay, so let's suppose that John Smith makes a will for one person. He says, okay, so 1/3 of my wealth belongs to you, and to another person 1/3 of my wealth belongs to you. Okay, so obviously now 2/3 are gone. Okay, but as we said, only 1/3, because the other 2/3 belong to the inheritance. It's their position. Okay, so it will be valid, as he mentioned before, only if inheritance will give permission for that. So what if they will say no? So in that case, he says, فَالثُّلُثُ بَيْنَهُمَا نُصْفَانِ, 50-50. Okay, so that means each of them will take 1.5 of the third, half of third. ومن أوصى لأحدهما بالثلث وللآخر بالسدس فالثلث بينهما أثلاثا. Okay, so it's depending. If you guys are good in maths, so it is your field. So if John Smith makes a will for someone with 1/3 and the second person 1/6. Okay, so and then the inheritance will say no, means we split up the 1/3, okay, into 3. So one of them, the owner of 1/3 will get 2/3, and the owner of 1/6 will get 1/3. وإن أوصى لأحدهما بجميع ماله وللآخر بثلث ماله فلم تجز الورثة فالثلث بينهما على 4 أسهم عند أبي حنيفة ومحمد وقال أبو حنيفة الثلث بينهما نصفان. استخرج. Okay, so let's suppose that John Smith makes a will. So for one person he says 1/3, and the second he says everything. Okay. So it means according to Sahabain, the 1/3 guy will get quarter, 2/3, 3/4 will go to the other person, because that's what it is, isn't it? But what about Abu Hanifa? So he says it's between them 50-50. Okay, well, why? It's takhrij. Yeah, so why? Because everything is everything for the inheritance. Okay, but for the will, 1/3 is everything. So it's the same as to say, for one, I'm making will of everything for you. And to the second person, I'm making will of everything for you. Understand? Okay. So just Abu Hanifa never said that, you know. It's a good one. ولا يضرب أبو حنيفة للموصى له بما زاد على الثلث إلا في المحاباة والسعاية والدراهم المرسلة. Okay, so this is one of the complicated مسائل, you know. ولا يضرب أبو حنيفة للموصى له بما زاد على الثلث إلا في المحاباة والسعاية والدراهم المرسلة. Okay. Okay, so now si'aya, what is the meaning of si'aya? If you remember, we mentioned slave. Okay, so slave, slave should be, so let's suppose that I free a slave, okay, and then I owe 10,000 pounds to this person, okay, but I freed my slave for free. Okay, so in that situation, we have one winner and one loser. The winner is the slave because he got the freedom. The loser is the person who lended money to me, but now he's unable to take back anything because I do not have money. So then what do? We make the si'aya. Si'aya means the slave will work, okay, to pay back his value to me. Okay. For example, if slave's value is 2,000 pounds, okay, so he will work to earn 2,000 pounds only, okay, but I owe to that person 10,000 pounds. So what does that mean? Well, that means that I will pay back only 2,000, and for the 8,000, so if I'm able, so that's it, or else the judge will order for bankruptcy. Okay, so he will sentence for bankruptcy. So that is the si'aya. Okay. Okay. So anyway, al-muhabat is just like a gift. Okay. So that's the meaning. For example, I will say to you, habaytuka duyunak. So for example, you owe me 10,000 pounds. So what I'm saying, I'm giving you. Okay. So I'm setting you free from that debt. So that is muhabat is just gift. I can just give you money. So that's muhabat. Okay. So I'm giving you some gift. Just a moment. Okay. Okay, so now we have this mas'ala. Let's suppose that I am making, I do have two slaves, okay? So one of them is 10 pounds, okay? And the second is 20 pounds, okay? And I do not have anything else, okay? And now, do you know the illness which occurs just before the death? So we did say that now we do consider that as the condition of death. Do you remember? So which means that I can only act from 1/3 of my wealth. Do you remember? We did mention that. So let's suppose that in that condition, I sell, okay, I sell my slaves. okay, but for lesser than its the price of the slave. So for example, the slave which worth 10 pounds, I sell it for 1 pound, okay, and the slave that worth 20 pounds, I sell for 2 pounds, okay, and then I die. What is good? And then I do not have any other inheritance, okay. So we apply the will and inheritance on that two slaves, okay. How? So we will make, because in total I'm leaving, so technically I'm leaving only 30 pounds, 10 pounds that slave, first one, and the second slave is 20 pounds, you remember. So what's going to happen in this scenario? So I'm leaving 30 pounds, but I sold the slaves for lesser than the real price, okay. So right now, all what is supposed to be happening, we have to get back, okay, we have to get back 2/3 of the value of these two slaves, okay. So if it is 30 pounds, so 2/3 is going to be 20 pounds, understand? So so means, but how much those people who bought the slaves, how much are they going to pay? So the one who bought the first slave, he will pay half of what the second person bought, or what second person is going to pay. And in total, they should pay 10 pounds. Okay, in total, they have to pay 10 pounds because 20 pounds should, I mean, they have to pay 20 pounds because that much is the 2/3 of my wealth. Okay, so how much each of them are going to pay? Who knows? Yeah, do I have mathematicians? So because in total, 30 pounds. Okay, first slave, 10 pounds, the second slave, 20 pounds. Means in total, I'm leaving 30 pounds as inheritance. And I made a will. I can make a will of maximum of 10 pounds. Okay, which means, okay, which means that my transaction, which is the first should pay 1 pound and the second 2 pounds, that is no more valid. Understand? So what is, how much are they going to pay? So in total, 20 pounds should come back. Does make sense? Yeah, so do I have anyone who can answer the question? Yes. And the second? The rest. The second is rest. Yeah. So it is maybe, yeah, maybe this 10 making 1/3 of 10 is quite difficult. So maybe we should make a better example. Okay, so let's say, for example, I have 2 slaves. Okay, and the cheapest one is 30 pounds. Okay, and more expensive one is 60 pounds. 60 pounds. So means I'm leaving 90 pounds behind me. Okay, but because I do not have anything else except these 2 slaves, which I sold just before the death. So means that was will. Okay, for cheaper. I sold that for cheaper. Okay, so it was not actually buying and selling transaction, but it was as a gift, because I sold the first slave, okay, for 1 pound, but the real price is 30 pounds. You understand? Okay, so this example is just better to calculate. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that is muhabat. Okay, this is muhabat. Muhabat is selling, but selling the commodity for much more cheaper than the real price. So we consider that as a will because it is gift, because I'm granting, I'm giving, okay, as a gift. So that is so in that situation, only we apply the the principles of the will in these three situations. So that is muhabat. Si'aya is in the same exactly example, but it's not buying and selling. But I do have slaves, one of them worth 30 pounds, and the second is 60 pounds. Okay, but then I just set them free. Okay, just for for free, and I do not have any other any other money. Understand? Means freeing them, it was will. Okay, so the will can be done only from 1/3. We apply the same thing. So one of them, the one whose value is 30 pounds, he should work to pay back 20, and the other whose value is 60 pounds should work to pay back 40 pounds. Okay, so that is si'aya.
Sorry, Sheikh, I have a question. So how long, in terms of time, does there need to be in between kind of selling the slave and then for you to go back and say, actually, it wasn't a sale as such, and I want some of it back? Is there a time stipulation in between?
So it is, it's only within the condition of death. Within the condition.
But how long after the selling and death? Is there a time in between that? Because could it be 4 years or
no, any transaction which was done during the
lifetime?
of death. Yeah, during the condition of death. No, not lifetime.
Oh,
during the condition of death.
okay,
So the person became ill.
okay.
So now, do you understand?
Yeah.
So it does not mean that, for example, whatever I sold when I was 20,
Yeah.
will bring. No, it's not that, but during the condition of death.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay. Third issue is darahim mursala. Okay, so darahim mursala, linguistically, mursala arsala yursil, to let it go. Okay, to set it free, to let it go. So that is the literal meaning of mursal, arsala yursilu. Okay, but ad-darahim al-mursala, it is making a will. Okay, so I'm making will. I do have in total 90 pounds. Okay, so whatever the example that we gave about the slaves, but it is in the cash now. And I have 90 pounds in total. And then to first person, I say 30 pounds is from me to you as a will. And to the second person, I say 60 pounds is a will. So how much are they going to receive? So in total, it will be 30 pounds. So the first person will receive only 10 pounds and the second person will receive 20 pounds. So in total, they can get only 30 pounds. So that is the meaning of darahim mursala. Okay, so only in this condition, we apply the principles of wasiyah. Because there is no any other inheritance, and the wasiyah is only valid from 1/3. وَمَنْ أَوْصَى وعليه دين يحيط بماله لم تجوز الوصية إلا أن يبرئ الغرماء من الدين. Okay, so it's good rational point. Let's suppose that John Smith is dying and he's making a will. Okay, but he has a debt. His debt, debt, the amount of debt covers all of the wealth that he is leaving. Means he technically does not have money to write a will. So in that situation, the will is not valid unless the the lenders will just set him free from the debt. وَمَنْ أَوْصَى بِنَصِيبِ ابْنِهِ فَالْوَصِيَّةُ بَاطِلَةٌ. So John Smith is making will, saying the inheritance which belongs to my son, that is my will to another person. Okay, so that is void. وإن أوصى بمثل نصيب ابنه جاز فإن كان له ابنان فللموصى له الثلث. Okay, but what if John Smith says, okay, I'm making will which is equal to the inheritance of my son, so that is valid. But again, we have to look into the condition. So the will should be from 1/3. So in that scenario, let's suppose that John Smith only has 2 sons. Okay, so yeah, it makes sense because 1/3 is going to be exactly as the the amount which one of his sons will be receiving. ومن أعتق عبدا في مرضه أو باع وحاب أو وهب فذلك كله جائز يعتبر من الثلث ويضرب به مع أصحاب الوصية. Okay, so as we have mentioned, let's suppose that John Smith will free a slave when في مرضه, during his illness condition. So he's ill now, he's dying. Okay, during that time, he frees a slave. أو وهب, or he will give a gift. Okay. أو باع, or he buys something. أو حاب, or he gives something. فذلك كله جاء. So all of that is valid, but يعتبر من. So all of that will be classed only from 1/3. ويضرب به مع أصحاب الوصايا. And he will all of that will be classed included as the wasiya. Okay, so the rest of the people. So let's suppose that I freed my slave whose value is 1/3 of my entire wealth. And also I made a will to another person also. So means, so there are two people receiving will from me, my slave and that other person. You understand? And then we calculate. So because the value of the freedom of my slave is from 1/3. And also, let's say I made a will of, you can say 1/6 of my wealth to that other person. Do you remember? So means the slave has to make si'aya to pay off 1/3 of his actual value. Do you remember? So we spoke about all of that. So that is the meaning of يضرب به مع أصحاب الوصايا. So his will towards him will be calculated with the rest of the people who are receiving the will. فإن حاب ثم أعتق فالمحاباة أولى عند أبي حنيفة. فإن حاب ثم أعتق فالمحاباة أولى عند أبي حنيفة. Okay, so if someone frees a slave, okay, but also makes muhabat, so which one is better? According to Abu Hanifa, muhabat is better. Muhabat, we spoke about it, selling the slave to a person, but under evaluating. Okay, so not giving that full price. So muhabat is better because it brings money and it does not make the slave to work. When أعتق ثم حاب فهما سواء. Okay, but according to Abu Hanifa, if first he frees, okay, and then makes muhabat, so they're equal. وقال أبو يوسف محمد العتق أولى في المسألتين. But according to صاحبين, the freedom is better in both of the examples. ومن أوصى بسهم من ماله فله أخص سهام الورثة. So let's suppose that I will make a will to someone saying that I'm giving you the share of inheritance as a will. Okay, so that is valid, but then we give him the smallest share of the inheritance. إلا أن ينقص من السدس فيتم له السدس. Unless if it will be lesser than 1/6. In that condition, we just give him 1/6. So for example, 1/8. وإن أوصى بجزء من ماله قيل للورثة أعطوه ما شئتم. But if John Smith, before the death, makes a will and says part of his inheritance, okay, so it is valid. But then the inheritance, you know, the people, the relatives who are receiving, so they will just give whatever they want, because so even if it is just for example £1,000, so that's part of inheritance. ومن أوصى بوصايا من حقوق الله تعالى قدمت الفرائض منها قدمها الموصي أو أخرها مثل الحج والزكاة والكفارات وما ليس بواجب قدم منه ما قدمه الموصي. So let's suppose that John Smith is dying and then he made a will, but his will is something which is related to the rituals, something related to the حقوق of God. Like for example, Hajj, or he missed zakat, he did not pay, okay, or kafara, he had to make kafara, he did not do that, okay. So he's asking, he's appointing the solicitor to pay off that when he dies, okay. So then which one will be fulfilled first? Okay, so he says the ones which are compulsory, that will be fulfilled, even if the person, even if John Smith mentions the non-compulsory things first. Okay, for example, if we have Hajj, okay, if we have Zakat and Kafara, which one has to be fulfilled first? Zakat, because that's fard. Kafara is wajib. But if he will make a will, okay, about the religious matters, but none of them are compulsory, so then we just follow the order of the Musi. For example, John Smith will say, yeah, so that much money for the orphanage and that much for the school, you know. So then we just follow the same order which is mentioned by John Smith. ومن أوصى بحجة الإسلام أحج عنه رجلا من بلده. Okay, so if you remember the Hajj Badal, okay, so we spoke about Hajj Badal. So if someone dies, okay, and before the death makes a will saying, I had a chance of making Hajj, but I did not do, so that's why I performed the Hajj. So then we do the Hajj Badal. So means someone else will be going for Hajj on his behalf, okay, but from the city in which this person lives. Okay, so it's all of the principles which are applicable on Hajj Badal. Okay, so you Hajj anhu rakiban, and also the expenses will be paid for the riding. Okay, so it's not just walking, but just normal, not the most luxurious and not the cheapest one, but the average one. فإن لم تبلغ الوصية النفقة أحج عنه من حيث تبلغ. But what about if the money which he's leaving, if it's not sufficient? Okay, so for example, 1/3 of his wealth is £1,000, but £1,000 is not sufficient for the Hajj. Okay, so then what do we do? Then we find the city from which £1,000 will do. Okay, so let's say it's Jordan. And then we find the person from Jordan and we pay his expenses to perform Hajj Badal. ومن خرج من بلده حاجا فمات في الطريق وأوصى أن يحج عنه حج عنه من بلده عند أبي حنيفة. Okay, so someone went for the Hajj and on the way he died, but he made will for the Hajj. Okay, so that does mean that the person who will be doing Hajj Badal will go to the Hajj from the place in which that person died. So he says, according to Abu Hanifa, Hajj Badal should be performed from his own native city.
Sheikh, what if someone who did not pay his zakat,
Yes.
and he puts in his will to pay his zakat, and the amount of zakat is more than 1/3 that he's leaving behind? So do we pay the zakat, which is first, or do we?
No, only 1/3. All will is from 1/3 only.
Okay.
Yeah. So was you planning to skip zakat? Okay. ولا تصح وصية الصبي والمكاتب وإن تركه وفعل. So the will of the immature child as well as the will, so that is not valid. So because, as you know, in our fiqh, the immature person has possession, but only the problem is that he cannot act on it. So for example, let's suppose that he receives inheritance. Immature child, he is the son of very wealthy person. If his father dies, immature person receives inheritance. So means immature person has possession. Okay, but can he buy and sell? We said no. Okay, so based on that, child, let's suppose that, may Allah forbid, some child dies and makes a will. Okay, so la tasahhu, it's not valid because child cannot act. He can possess but cannot act. Wal-mukatab, and also the mukatab. Okay, so mukatab, the will of the mukatab is void. وَإِن تَرَكَ وَفَانٍ, even if he leaves enough money, enough amount of money, okay, which will pay off the contract. So for example, my slave who made contract for 10,000 pounds, mukataba, okay, and then he dies, okay, but before coming back and paying off, he dies. So it means contract is not fulfilled yet. But when he dies, we found that he left 20,000 pounds, which is so 10,000 above of our contract. Means he's technically he can he's free, isn't it? We say no, he's not free, because for the freedom he had to come and pay off. Understand? So he says his will is not valid. Even if he leaves wafa. Wafa means the money which pays off his contract.
Sheikh, with the buying and selling, when they talked about the immature person, and then they mentioned the point about intelligence.
Yes.
Like if he knew what he was doing and the guardian consented, does
yes.
that work here, or it doesn't work?
I think that should work. Okay, but with the two conditions which you mentioned. Okay, sanity. Okay, and the permission of the wali. But in here he is just talking sobi, means immature. Insane yet. And good point, yes. So the transaction of the aqil is valid, okay, but doesn't mean that wasiya will be valid also. So because technically it should be, because buying and selling. But then if you remember, we mentioned that anything which is necessary. Do you remember? Okay, so it means that mature, sane child buying, for example, house. Will it be valid? If you remember, we mentioned that there is disagreement of the mashayikh, because this is out of necessity. Do you understand? So though the same mashayikh will come back in here to argue us also, saying that wasi is not necessary. Do you understand? So just it is about that. ويجوز للموصي الرجوع عن الوصية, and then if after making the wasiya will, you can take it back also. Okay. Atlantica Masala Saab, another good thing for you. So in front of people, you will say, I'm Abdul Qadir Jilani, I'm making will to buy entire UK and to make it for the Maulanas, Okay, but then publicly and secretly into your pocket, you will say, I'm taking it back, We say valid, it's nullified. Okay. فإذا صرح بالرجوع أو فعل ما يدل على الرجوع كان رجوع. So if after making the will, in order to nullify, either you should make explicit statement or you act upon it. So for example, you will say, yes. So for example, I'm signing contract. Okay, so this is will, and then you just destroy it. So you did act. So by your action, you have nullified. ومن جحد الوصية لم يكن. But denying the will does not mean that you are nullifying. So for example, you will say, after making the will, you will say, I never made a will. Okay, because it is lie. But for you to nullify, you have to establish and not to inform. Okay, so when you say, I did not do it, means you are forgetting or you are lying. Informing, actually. Okay, so, and as you know, the fiqhi transactions will be established by initiating, by stating, and not by informing. Okay. ومن أوصى لجيرانه فهم اللاصقون عند أبيها. It is just linguistic thing, Let's suppose that I will make a will for my neighbors. So according to Abu Hanifa, it is the neighbors who share with me the same door, okay, just next door neighbors. Okay. Well, again, as I said, it is linguistic thing. So what in English language, when you say neighbor, what do you actually mean? Okay. So yeah, for example, if it is just a handsome guy, ladies, handsome guy, so living in the same city means neighbors, Okay, ومن أوصى لأصحابه فالوصية لكل ذي رحم محرم من امرأته. Okay, so sihr means in-laws. Okay, sihr. So for example, if I, for example, marry off my son Mary of my daughter. Okay, so literally my son-in-law, he is my sihr. Okay, but linguistically is broader. Okay, so it means that in Iraq they were using it a bit broader. So if you will make a will for this type of in-laws, means anyone who cannot marry your wife, okay, permanently, mahram, they became mahram, okay, muharramun minhum, but not so for example, because your son-in-law became mahram of your wife, and who else from his side, who else cannot marry your wife? So all of them are your sihr in Arabic language. Okay, but again, we do not apply this in here. And also, as you know, the English language, which is in America, is different to the English language, which is in the UK. Okay, so we just follow the local language. ومن أوصى لأختانه فالختن زوج كل ذي رحم محرم منه. Okay, so if it is khatan, so khatan means let's suppose that my auntie. Okay, so auntie, my auntie's husband is my khatan. Okay, so the will go to those people. ومن أوصى لأقربائه فالوصية للأقرب فالأقرب من كل ذي رحم محرم منه. So, but if I will make will to for my relatives, so then it will be mahrams. Okay, mahrams who are related to me through blood, through womb. Okay, so so it will not include, for example, it will not include the in-laws, even though they are mahrams. Okay, but because not through blood. Okay, so that's the meaning of aqarib. So if you say relatives, aqarib in Arabic language, so that will only include the first generation of the aqarib. So for example, my aunties and my uncles, but not my cousins, not the children of my aunties. So anyone to whom I'm related through someone, so my cousin, I'm related to my cousin through my uncle. So the chain, you know, the connection in aqarib will include only the connection and not the people who are behind him. So all of that is just linguistic thing, you know. Okay, guys, who is eating what today for the iftari? If you can just write so that I can just see. I will just copy from you, you know, if you guys will mention something beside Arslan tikka masala. Arslan tikka masala is not least spicy, you know, something better than Arslan tikka masala. Anything else? ولا يدخل فيهم الولدان والولد. So the second generation of your relatives will not be included when into your will. Okay, but again, as I said, it depends on the language. So in England, when you say relatives who are included, okay, so all of them will receive inheritance. وتكون للاثنين فصاعدا. So because you mentioned in the plural for my relatives, okay, so 1/3 of my wealth is for my relatives, so it should be more than 2 members in total as a minimum. Okay, well, it's again linguistic thing, because as you know, plural comes after dual, so it should be more than dual, okay, in Arabic. But what about the English? So it can be 2 only. Okay, Sayyidi. وإذا أوصى بذلك وله عمان وخالان فالوصية لعميه عند أبي حنيفة وإن كان له I'm sorry, if it is plural, so it should be 2 or more. Okay, really sorry. It's one of these issues. If you remember in Quran, it's not consistent, by the way, with our usul. Okay, because in usul, plural is taken as a plural. So as you can see, it's discrepancy between fiqh and usul. So because Shafi'is in usul, they follow this principle. Okay, plural is used for 2 or more. Do you remember? خصمان اختصموا في ربهم. خصماني two opponents, اختصموا, they are arguing, plural. Okay, so Imam Shafi'i uses that in Usul Fiqh, saying dual, plural verb or plural form of the word can be used for two and plus by using that. Okay, so that's against our principle. As you can see in fiqh in here, they're using the Shafi'i principle. So anyway, then he says, so let's suppose that you make a will for your relatives and you have two paternal uncles and two maternal uncles. So obviously, from what we have learned, the asaba, they are stronger connection. You know, the relatives through the males are stronger than through the females in the jurisprudence, okay, both Sunnah and Shia. So because of that, the inheritance will go to your two paternal uncles. Okay, why? Because he said al-aqrab fal-aqrab, the closest relatives. And the relatives to whom you are related through male is stronger than through female. Okay, they normally mention that Surah Yasin wa nahnu usba. Okay, so doesn't match. So that's also Shafi'i print, but we use it for some reason. Anyway. Okay, so the paternal uncles will get half. Okay. Oh, actually. Yeah. Once more, please. وإذا أوصى بذلك وله عمان وخال, two paternal and two maternal uncles, فالوصية لعميه. So the will is going to be for his paternal uncles according to وإن كان له عم وخالان فللعم النصف وللخالين النصف. So, but what about if he has got only one paternal uncle and two maternal uncles? Because he said that it should be as a minimum two, because he said for my relatives, plural. You remember? So in that scenario, he says the paternal uncle will get half, and the second half will go for two maternal. Means each of them will receive quarter. You know, sometimes I do see that our fuqaha, you know, I do respect, very highly respect Hanafi fuqaha, you know. I do not believe that others were fuqaha. Maliki, Shafi'is were a bit of fiqh, you know, but they were, but I do highly respect our Hanafi fuqaha. But sometimes they oppose our usuli principles. You know, that's not good. Okay, because it should be consistent. You know. وقال أبو يوسف ومحمد الوصية لكل من ينسب إلى أقصى أب له في الإسلام. Yeah, I think it's coming from Muhammad, because Muhammad was a linguist, you know, Imam Muhammad rahimahullah was a linguist. So he says, if you make the will, okay, for your relatives, okay, so it includes anyone who is related to you through your forefather, the further forefather whom you know in Islam. So, for example, we have this family. They are Zoroastrians. They were 300 years ago Zoroastrians, and then they converted into Islam. Okay, so the first person who converted into Islam, his name was Raja Kumar. Raja Kumar. Okay, so when you are part of this member, if you make a will for your relatives, so then your relative is anyone who is related to you through Raja Kumar. Understand? So all of them. Sometimes it could be the entire village, actually. Okay, so that is the position of Abu Yusuf, and I do assume that it's the position of Imam Muhammad. Abu Yusuf is pure Hadithi mindset. Muhammad is a bit broader. Okay, for me, Imam Muhammad is more reliable in fiqh, because he has got Imam Muhammad, like he has got good skills, not only in the Hadith as it was Abu Yusuf, but also linguistic skills, in which Abu Yusuf was quite poor, you know, in comparison to Imam Muhammad. Okay. ومن أوصى لرجل بثلث دراهمه وثلث غنمه فهلك ثلثا ذلك وبقي ثلثه وهو يخرج من ثلث ما بقي من ماله فله جميع ما بقي. وإن أوصى ب okay. Okay, so let's suppose that John Smith makes a will. Okay, and he has 90 sheep. Okay, so then John Smith made a will saying that 30 of my sheep I'm making will, which is 1/3, as well as 1/3 of my cash also to this young man. Okay, but then disaster happens, I don't know, earthquake or whatever, and then 2/3, so 60 of his ships will just die. Okay, but then, how do we treat the will? So then we look into his rest of the inheritance, because he will have houses and other things. So getting, if you take out 30 of his ships, will that be 1/3 of his remaining wealth or less? If yes, so then he will get 30 of his ships. Yeah. وإن أوصى بثلث ثيابه فهلك ثلثاها وبقي ثلثها وهو يخرج من ثلث ما بقي من ماله لم يستحق إلا ثلث ما بقي من الثياب. Okay, but what about if it's in the same example, if it was not clothes, but it was if it was not ships, but it was clothes? Okay, so he says, no, in that scenario, he will get only 1/3 of remaining clothes. Okay, for example, shirts, for example, or suits. So it's not similar to the masala of the ships, but he will only get 1/3 of the remaining suits, and not everything as it was with the ships. Okay. They say it's mainly because of the clothes or even the fabrics are mainly from the different types. Okay, but what about if it would be same type? So then they do treat it exactly as the previous masala. Yes. ومن أوصى لرجل ب1000 درهم وله مال عين ودين فإن خرجت 1000 من ثلث العين دفعت إلى الموصى له وإن لم تخرج دفع إليه ثلث العين. Okay, so وكل ما خرج شيء من الدين أخذ ثلثه حتى يستوفي 1000. Okay, so now we have John Smith who is dying and he made a will of 1/3 of his wealth. Okay, and the inheritance of John Smith, 2 types. One is it's available, it's just right there, and the second type is just debts, means people owe him money. Okay, so people owe him 10,000 pounds, but in cash he has got only 1,000 pounds. Okay, and then John Smith made a will of let's say 3,000 pounds. So in total he has 11,000, and 3,000 is lesser than 1/3. So it means the wasiya is valid, but the available amount of money right now is only 1,000 pounds, and the rest is debt. Okay, people owe him 10,000. So what's going to happen? So the wasiya will be applied on 1/3 of the available cash. Okay, but then until he gets his full amount, which is 3,000. Okay, so then he has to wait. Every time when the people who owe John Smith the money, so each time when they will be paying the loan back, so he will carry on getting 1/3 from what is paid until he fully gets his 3,000 pounds. Okay. وتجوز الوصية للحمل وبالحمل إذا وضع لأقل من 6 أشهر من يوم الوصية. Yeah, so it is the Hanafi Masail. So you can, okay, guys, what are you guys eating for the iftari? No one answered. Yeah, don't worry, I don't have evil eye, you know. So you can type it here. Okay, so but what about the pregnancy? So let's suppose that John Smith, okay, his daughter is pregnant, and John Smith is dying, okay, and he wanted to see his grandchildren, but he was unable. So he made a will for his grandchild from his daughter, for example. Okay, obviously this masala is not valid. It's wrong example because it's he may receive the inheritance, but if he does not receive the inheritance, so this is valid. Okay, as long as his daughter will give birth, okay, within 6 months. But if it will be more than 6 months, so then no, because there was no Saidi, Bilal, I don't think anyone is cooking. All of them are going for this curry mile, you know. Yes, and the same thing is to make a will. Okay, so let's suppose he's mentioning a quite strange example. Let's suppose that I have a she slave, okay, and my she slave is pregnant. Okay, so then I will say the child who is coming from my she slave is like a gift. Okay, so is it valid? So he says yes, as long as the she slave will give birth within less than 6 months. Okay, so that's what he's trying to explain. ومن أوصى لرجل بجارية إلا حملها صحة الوصية والاستثناء. Okay, and making the will other way around is still valid. So saying, I have a she slave who's pregnant. So I'm saying, okay, so she slave is in my will. So I'm just giving it, for example, to serve in the mosque, but not the baby that will be born. Okay, so the will is valid as well as the exemption is also valid. Chicken salam, okay, and roti, okay, kebabs. Okay, I accept kebabs. Just email it to me because now physically bringing is not quarantine, so just email the kebabs to me, you know. I will receive it like that. Okay, Saini. I hope we have quite a while. So I think we need at least about half an hour from now. ومن أوصى لرجل بجارية فولدت بعد موت الموصي قبل أن يقبل الموصى له ولدا موصى له ولدا ثم قبل وهما يخرجان من الثلث فهما للموصى له. Okay. وإن لم يخرجا من الثلث ضرب بالثلث وأخذ ما يخص منهما جميعا في قول أبي يوسف محمد رحمه. Okay, so in our mas'ala now, John Smith is making will. Okay, saying, okay, so my slave, my she slave is actually to serve, for example, the mosque, for example, or it is will to that person. And then John Smith died, okay, and before the other person accepting the will, she gave birth, okay. So then what is going to happen to the child? Okay, so just we look into the value. If the value of both of them together will be less than 1/3, so both will go to that other person, okay. But if it will be less, so then that other person will have the share from both the mother and the child, which is less than 1/3. Okay, so in that scenario, most likely both will be sold and the other person will receive inheritance from as a cash. وقال أبو حنيفة يأخذ ذلك من الأم فإن فضل شيء أخذ من الولد. But according to Abu Hanifa, if it is less than 1/3, if it is more than 1/3, you know, the value of the mother and the child more than 1/3, so means the will be mainly applied on the mother. Okay, it will be applied on the mother, but if the value of the mother is lesser than 1/3, so then we add some value from the baby also. So in that scenario, let's suppose that the entire inheritance of John Smith is 60 pounds. Okay, and then the value of the mother is 40 pounds. Means it is more than third. Okay, and then if she gives birth, and the baby is 20 pounds, extra 20 pounds. Okay, so according to Sahbain, both of the mother and son will be sold, and the person will get cash from both mother and son. But according to Abu Hanifa, only mother will be sold for that person to get 1/3, okay, of the inheritance of John Smith. But if the value of the means son will not be sold in that scenario if the value of the mother will pay off 1/3. But if it will be lesser than 1/3, then only the baby will be also sold, and just to pay off that extra part, extra bit. Okay. فإن خرجت رقبة العبد من الثلث سلم إليه للخدمة وإن كان لا where is the part? Oh. Okay. وتجوز الوصية بخدمة عبده وسكنى داره سنين معلومة وتجوز ذلك بذلك أبدا. So as you can make a will of a commodity, okay, or cash, that's how you can make a will of the service also. Okay, for example, you have a house. Okay, so you can say, okay, so my house, I'm making will that family will be living in my house. Okay, so that's possible. Or khidmati abdihi, or for example, service of your slave, or for example, renting your car. So the person will not own your car, but he will be driving it. So you can do it sinina ma'luma for specific amount of a time. وتجوز بذلك أبدا, and also you can do it forever also. فإن خرجت رقبة العبد من الثلث سلم إليه للخدمة. So if in that scenario, for example, you are saying my car, that person will be driving my car. Okay, so means you are not giving your car as like a will, like all of it, but only service, driving. I mean, driving, you know, so you're only giving a driving business, you know. So in that scenario, we just look, we evaluate the car. Okay, so if the value of the car is lesser than 1/3, so then we just give away the car. If it is forever, so but if he said for 2 years, so that's it, 2 years. But if it's forever, you know, driving forever means if it is less than 1/3, so then we just give away the car. وإن كان لا مال له غيره خدم الورثة يومين والموصى له يوما. So in that case, service will be split into 2. Okay, so 2 days, okay, for the inheritance for the relatives, and 1 day for the person for whom it was made will. فإن مات الموصى له عاد إلى الورثة. But if the person for whom this will was made, if he dies, so then the car will come back permanently, okay, just fully come back to the relatives, to the inheritance. وإن مات الموصى له في حياة الموصي بطلت الوصية. Okay, so if you made a will for that person, but that person died before you, will is nullified. Aslantika masala sab, another way of showing off, you know, just to say that you are generous, you know, choose people who are going to die before you, you know. Okay. وإذا أوصى لولد فلان فالوصية بينهم الذكر والأنثى فيه سواء. This is pure Hanafi position. So if you make a will for the children of that person, so it is valid, the will is valid, and males and females will take equal share in that will. ومن أوصى لورثة فلان فالوصية بينهم للذكر مثل حظ الأنثيين. But if you will make a will for the inheritance of that person, so as you know, there is big difference between children of that person and inheritance of that heirs of that person. So if you will make a will with this wording saying for the heirs of that person, okay, so then it will go to them, and the males will receive double of what females receive. ومن أوصى لزيد ومن أوصى لزيد وعمر بثلث ماله فإذا عمرو ميت فالثلث كله لزيد. So if John Smith, if you make a will to Zaid and Amr, but then we find out that Amr was dead, so then one third will be for Zaid, because you made the will saying 1/3 of my will is for Zaid and Amr. So in that situation. اي الله. وإن قال ثلث مالي بين زيد وعمر وزيد ميت كان لعمر نصف الثلث. Okay, but if you will make another wording, for example, you will say 1/3 of my wealth, 1/3 of my wealth inheritance is between Zaid and Amr. So because of this between word, okay, so and then later you find out that Amr was dead, so Zaid will receive half of the third of the inheritance, you know. So it's just it is just linguistic thing, and it's not fiqh thing, but it is linguistic thing. Okay. ومن أوصى بثلث ماله ولا مال له ثم اكتسب مالا استحق الموصى له ثلث ماله. So let's suppose that now you are poor, you do not have a money, okay, and then you made a will saying that 1/3 of your wealth is for that person. Okay, right now you are poor, you have no money, but then after making will, you started trading, okay, and then you made money. So will that person receive will or not? So he says the wasiyya will be applicable on ma yamlikuhu inda al-maut, on what you own, what is in your possession while dying. Okay, so it's not applicable on what you had in when you made the will. Okay, wallahu ta'ala a'lam. I think it was just perfect timing. Alhamdulillah, we are going to stop here. The next is fara'id. Let me see. Okay, so fara'id. Do you think we can complete the fara'id in 1 week? Technically, yes. Technically, we can. Technically, we can actually. Yes, we can. Yeah, inshallah we can. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. Jazakumullah khairan. Next Saturday, we will meet up, okay?
Okay. Next Saturday, I think it's going to be Eid for many.
Oh, yes.
So we're going to take a break next week. So
okay.
resume the week after.
That's fine. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.